You were not born a monster. You were not born with snakes for hair. You were not born with a face that turned men to stone. Once you were beautiful. Once you were desired. Once you were innocent. And then the gods made sure none of that would save you. Because your story was never really about a monster. It was about what happens when power needs someone to blame. Before fear had a face, it had yours. But not like this. In the oldest versions of your story, before the horror, before the curse, before the severed head and the blood-soaked legend, you were known for something else entirely. Beauty. Not ordinary beauty. The kind that made people stop speaking. The kind that made men stare too long. The kind that turned admiration into hunger. In some tellings, you were a mortal woman. In others, a priestess in the temple of Athena. And that matters. Because if you belonged to Athena, then your body was no longer just yours. It was tied to purity, to discipline, to sacred order. And in mythology, sacred spaces are never safe for long. Especially when a god decides he wants something. Think about that for a second. The story most people remember begins with snakes. But the real horror begins much earlier than that. Poseidon wanted you. And when gods want something in Greek mythology, wanting is usually enough. In many retellings, he takes you inside Athena's temple. That detail is everything. Not because it makes the act more dramatic, but because it turns your suffering into an offense against power. You were not protected by holiness. You were exposed by it. And this is where your story becomes more than myth. Because people hearing it now immediately ask the same question. Why didn't Athena punish Poseidon? Why punish you? And Greek mythology gives the cruel answer it gives so often. Because power rarely strikes upward when it can strike downward. Poseidon was a god. You were not. He could desecrate the temple and remain divine. But you could be transformed into the evidence of what happened there. That is how myth works sometimes. It does not heal the victim. It repurposes them. And Athena was about to do something worse than kill you. She was about to make your pain visible forever. Athena does not restore your dignity. She weaponizes your existence. Your hair becomes serpents. Your beauty becomes terror. Your face becomes fatal. Anyone who looks directly at you turns to stone. And that is what makes your curse so perfect in a cruel, mythic way. You become untouchable. No one can desire you now without dying. No one can stare at you now without paying for it. No one can take from you again in the same way. But that is not freedom. That is exile shaped like revenge. The world stops seeing a woman who was wronged. It sees a monster that must be feared. And once people fear you, they stop asking what happened to you. They only ask what you have become. That may be the darkest part of your story. Not that you changed, but that your suffering made everyone more comfortable once it looked monstrous. But turning men to stone did not make you powerful. It only made you easier to abandon. And this is where most people get the story wrong. They think Medusa became evil. But that is not what the myth actually proves. It proves that once the world is afraid of you, it no longer cares who made you this way. Now you live at the edge of the world. Far from cities. Far from temples. Far from mercy. In some versions, you are one of the Gorgons. In others, you are the only mortal among them. Which means even among monsters, you remain the most vulnerable. That detail matters too. Because being mortal means your story can still end. And in mythology, anything mortal eventually becomes someone else's quest. By now your name has changed meaning. You are no longer Medusa the woman. You are Medusa the warning. A face painted onto shields. A nightmare mothers whisper about. A challenge for ambitious men who want glory. That is how legends erase people. First, they destroy your life. Then, they turn the ruins into a symbol. And somewhere far away, a young hero is being told that your death will make him immortal. Then comes Perseus. Not because he knows you. Not because he hates you. But because heroes in Greek myth are often sent to kill whatever the world has already decided is unworthy of pity. He is given gifts by the gods. A mirrored shield. Winged sandals. a blade. Divine help. Look at the imbalance in that. You were transformed by divine power. And now divine power returns to finish the job. Perseus does not face you directly. He cannot. He survives by refusing to look at you. And maybe that is the final irony of your life. No one who truly looked at you survived. And the man who kills you does so by never seeing you at all. He watches your reflection. He waits for the perfect angle. And then he cuts off your head. That moment becomes his victory. But it was built from your ruin. And even in death, the gods were not done using you. Imagine that. Your death is remembered as heroism. Your life is remembered as horror. And almost no one is taught to question why. Even after your death, your body does not belong to you. Your severed head still turns enemies to stone. Perseus uses it. Athena takes it. Its image becomes protection, fear, power. That is one of the strangest things about your myth. You are most useful to the world only after you are silenced. As long as you were alive, you were a threat, an exile, an embarrassment to divine order. But once you are dead, your face becomes an object. A tool. A symbol others can control. And maybe that is why Medusa survives so powerfully in the modern imagination. Because people no longer just see a monster. They see a pattern. A woman harmed by power. Punished instead of protected. Feared instead of understood. Then turned into an image others use for their own purposes. That is no longer just mythology. That is memory. Which raises the final question. Was Medusa ever the monster at all? Medusa lasts because she means different things to different ages. To ancient storytellers, she could be terror. A boundary. A warning. To later audiences, she became tragedy. A victim transformed into a villain because that was easier than confronting the truth. And to modern viewers, Medusa often feels painfully familiar. Not because we believe in snake-haired monsters, but because we recognize what happened to her. The innocent made dangerous by what was done to them. The violated made shameful. The feared made inhuman. The broken turned into myths so no one has to sit with the original crime. That is why her face still haunts art, film, literature, and memory. Because Medusa is not just a monster from the past. She is what power creates when it wants the wound to wear the blame. And if that is true, then the most frightening thing about Medusa was never her face. It was the world around her. You were never just the monster they feared. You were the monster they needed. If you want another story where mythology twisted a god into something darker than people remember, watch your life as Hades, the god everyone feared next. Because just like Medusa, Hades was never as simple as the legend. Click the next video, and step into another life the myths never told honestly.